if Charlamagne has a comment to say, well, we can't listen to Akademiks about this really bad thing about Drake because Drake is his guy and they're friends, I wouldn't even be mad at him. You know why? Because, like, bro, he's speaking facts. What the fuck?
Huh? An era where all of Lawbree's music friends turned against him. Only 3 super glazers were able to save the day. Snack-a-diddler.
Those 3 Big Macs are for me.
Meat-munching Maul.
I'm some OVO, dick-riding, Drake-caping
and repugnant Rory. Aubrey's Avengers. Coming to a theater near you.
Lawbrees and Gentlegrams, the McDonald's model swallowing Lawbree's log like water bottles, waddles his wagon down to his basement, busts the bottle of Henny open and gets to hating on Kendrick, Lil Baby, or anything related to anti-Drakeness or salad stations, mass hatred against it, but they've been saying he's a paid agent complacent in changing what he's saying by the swaying of a payment. The lamest, largest, lard-laden, Lawbree, log-latching, lunatic, Big Mac, Snackademics, his whole scheme we gotta dissect it, but first inject pressure to the like and subscribe buttons, do not neglect it.
I study
Rapaholics
for a living.
No, Lawbrees and Gentlegrams, I don't usually ask, but let's make it a goal for this video to get 3,000 likes because those 3 Big Macs are for me. And if you don't understand what I'm referring to, then you're probably new to the channel, so welcome here and you'll know what I'm talking about by the end of this video.
Those 3 Big Macs.
So we are now almost 2 years removed from what many consider to be the greatest rap battle in history. And I think the fact that we're still speaking about it today, and this video will probably perform better than the last 3-4 videos I posted, speaks volumes to how impactful this battle was. But a lot of people look at that as a negative, right? There's no denying a shift happened after Kendrick dropped like 5 diss tracks on Drake's head top, and there's no denying that there's also been a lot of division within music discourse ever since this battle concluded.
I study rap battles for a living.
I mean, it hasn't really concluded, right? Because there's still so many unanswered questions. For starters, Drake took rap battles to historic new lows by actually suing over the songs he was getting dissed on. There's still no real outcome in that lawsuit. We still haven't got a real statement from Drake in the form of a full-length project where he reflects on where his career has headed ever since the beef. Even J. Cole has kind of given mixed signals, apologizing to Kendrick on stage, but then to Drake on Port Antonio, and then kind of dissing Drake on his Birthday Blizzard mixtape, but then rapping from the lens of Biggie and Tupac on his new album to say that they were all kind of beefing and going at each other for the love of hip-hop. I mean, we don't even know if this guy is retiring after this album, let alone where he truly stands with Drake and Kendrick.
Not the 3, not the 2, I'm the UNO. Ain't no way around it no more. I am the greatest.
And as for Kendrick, I mean, he had a crazy run with GNX, but he's been pretty silent ever since, aside from a couple little features here and there. And of course, the stadium tour where he moonwalked on Drake's grave in his hometown. And of course, the occasional sweep of an award show that he does every quarter.
Kendrick just opened his mouth, and I'm about to put my dick in it right now. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now.
But no one from the big 3 has done an interview. Lawsuits are still in place. My point with all this is just to say, not only is there a lot of unanswered questions, but there's a lot of division in terms of you can't really like both artists simultaneously right now, which is kind of crazy. But while Drake fans want to point the finger at Kendrick fans to say they are the root of all this division you're seeing within hip-hop, I would tell you that the narrative spread the fastest from the heaviest voices, the loudest voices, the largest voices, no pun intended.
Set it up and pop, I'ma get him drunk. Won't pass an ox. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5.
Because love him or hate him, there's no doubt that DJ Big Mac Snackademics was a through line thematically, if that makes sense, within all the diss records of that battle. That grammatically did not make sense, but never mind. Drake used his vocals as an interlude on push-ups to emphasize that Drake was top 2, but he's not 2. Then Kendrick Lamar even mentioned Akademiks by name on 616, saying that Akademiks is compromised.
Somebody's lying, I can see the vibes on act. Even he looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back. Ain't no.
What? Hold up.
And when you're wondering where all this division stems from, I think that the biggest culprit is going to be the biggest voice. And that would be the biggest man, Big Mac Snackademics. But you might be asking, Rapaholics, how do we know that Akademiks is really compromised? How do we know that he has been lying and spreading narratives, pushing propaganda on behalf of Drake?
You gotta realize what it says. The subscription for the bots finna end. You gotta re-up. I study charts for a living.
Well, nothing's for certain, but over the last year and a half, there has been a staggering amount of strange patterns of behavior, I guess you could call it, and just actions that have transpired that would point to something a little peculiar going on with the Henny Hog and his whole team and Drake. Now, what kind of sparked the light bulb off in my head with this issue right here is what Akademiks had actually said the other day. Now, he had admitted that he was approached and offered money to basically spread hate campaigns against both Playboi Carti and A$AP Rocky.
Let me tell you how hate campaigns work. I know one was being done on Carti. During Carti's last tour, there was people paying to shit on Carti. They were trying to have me post at Carti's Complex Con when him and the Weeknd popped up and they did Timeless and previewed, I think maybe Rather Lie. They wanted me to post. They sent me something and it was like the back of the crowd where like zero people or no people are, or there were by the door where people are walking out and they were like, look, Carti's playing on stage and people are walking out. Put that out, probably about like 15 grand. I said, bro, Carti's my friend. Not posting that. And I told Carti this too. Carti knows this. I told Carti. I said, Carti, they wanted me to post this. Also, I like to see where this is coming from. That means there's some other entity that got so much money, not only to promote their own, they got money to try to make someone else who they might be competing with not look good. Carti's not a media guy like that, but I talked to enough people. I figured out kind of where it was. People do hate campaigns. I got offered one on A$AP Rocky, and I told them no to. Number one, I'm trying to do an interview with him. What do I look like? Just putting a hate piece. Well, it's kind of factual. It's about his numbers. No, I'm not doing that. But yeah, these things happen. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, it's interesting he brings up both these two names because if you pay attention, Drake has had issues with both these artists in the past. I'm not saying Drake offered to pay Akademiks to crap on Carti or A$AP Rocky's new projects when they had dropped, but I'm going to present you guys a lot of different evidence throughout this video, or a lot of different facts that we know for sure, and you can come to your own conclusions because something in the air definitely smells a little fishy, and it's not those fish fillets that have been rotting in Big Mac's Akademiks' basement, alright?
When a hate campaign pops up from one artist, it's because a label that's not his has deemed him as the competition for their artist that they're pushing. So they need to make that artist look bad and their artist look good. Hate campaigns are within hip-hop.
Now, what was really interesting with this entire thing is that once this post was made where Akademiks admitted that he had been offered money to crap on Rocky and Carti, J. Cole's manager, Ebe, had actually replied to the tweet. He said, I was told during J. Cole's album cycle that people were paying to run hate campaigns on certain negative narratives around Cole and his album, and some pages were doing it. I actually seen it, how they tried to create the negative conversation. That's just how some people like to move. Now, pay attention. It's interesting that Ebe, J. Cole's manager, decided to respond to this tweet of all things, right? And not come forth and say this before Akademiks mentioned it. Think about how Akademiks has been discussing J. Cole ever since he announced the fall off. Most casual Drake fans actually don't seem to hate on J. Cole too much because he kind of apologized to Drake in Port Antonio, right?
Hey Drake, you'll always be my nigga. I ain't ashamed to say you did a lot for me, my nigga.
But Akademiks from day one could not find a positive thing to say about J. Cole, and it almost seemed like he was going out of his way to let you know how much he hates this man, alright? And you could probably guess that this all started right when he apologized to Kendrick Lamar and backed out of this battle, right? I think a lot of Kendrick fans were disappointed in that because it's like you're saying all this stuff you don't even believe on a diss track about Kendrick's legacy and his catalog, all to backtrack it a day or two later. It's like you have no backbone, and then not understanding that this was all just competition for the sake of being the best in the genre. At least to me, that's why I was initially disappointed in the apology.
If I smoke a rapper, it's gonna be legit. It won't because my shit ain't selling the same.
I think Drake fans, though, or DJ Big Mac's Akademiks, they're upset about it because they're looking at it from the angle like J. Cole left Drake to fight this battle on his own, right? Here's Akademiks a day after J. Cole apologized. You would have thought J. Cole hacked into this man's DoorDash account. You would have thought J. Cole made Akademiks take a bike ride to a salad bar. You would have thought J. Cole took his bike to Canada, bought every single Drake McDonald's meal, washed them all down with a bottle of Henny, forced Akademiks to watch, and not give him any. That's how mad DJ Big Mac's Akademiks was on the night that J. Cole apologized to Kendrick Lamar.
From here on down, fuck a big three. I don't want to hear y'all talk about Jake. No. Let that nigga go ride his fucking bicycles. Y'all, you know what I'm mad at? It's the fucking fans. This bitch nigga never wanted to be the best. Y'all try to convince him that he had the talent to be the best.
This bitch nigga was riding tricycles in Tribeca. He was being the 12th man in Ghana playing basketball. I didn't even know he was playing basketball in Ghana. Y'all convinced this fuck nigga when he been told you he had no passion for this shit. He ain't got no passion for this shit. You convinced this light-skinned nigga with no passion to come back and rap like he the best, but he not about it. Soft as baby shit.
Now, this hate continued all the way up to this very day. Less than a week before J. Cole released the Fall Off, Akademiks was tweeting stuff like this. J. Cole's like an NBA player with all the badges and skills, but doesn't have the it factor. He also said he was excited for the Fall Off because he needed new music to fall asleep to. And keep all this in mind when Ebe is replying specifically to a post about Akademiks saying that he got offered money to hate on certain rappers. And Ebe was saying that people throughout this album rollout were running with hatred-fueled narratives about J. Cole.
So he says there's hate campaigns around Cole. There probably was. I mean, I never got none on Cole. If I did, I would have told you. But everybody know my feelings about Cole already.
On the night that J. Cole released the Fall Off, Akademiks conveniently releases not one, but two Drake snippets that people assume are on Iceman just because of the subject matter of them. And if they're not on Iceman, I mean, just the subject matter alone, he's taking shots at different artists. He's responding directly to the diss song that he's suing over, Not Like Us. He was actually dissing, ironically, A$AP Rocky as well, who Akademiks claims to have been offered money to hate on. And all of this just seemed very calculated, very forced, almost like there was an ulterior motive to sabotage J. Cole's project by instead getting the entire internet to talk about Drake on the night that the Fall Off had released.
Man. Wait, what are you talking about?
When I say free slime, I ain't talking and talk, man. I really.
Wait, hold on. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear nothing. 5 in the chat if you heard some shit. 5 in the chat if you heard some shit.
Now, Akademiks would go on to claim that Drake got mad at him for leaking these songs on the night that J. Cole's album came out, and he claims that Drake was obviously not the one, puppeteering him to do so. But just keep paying attention to how things keep mapping out in this entire rabbit hole. All right, so J. Cole on his little, trunk sale Honda Civic tour around the States, connecting with the fans. Of course, Akademiks thought it was performative, which I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't think J. Cole's, mission was trying to convince anyone that he really drives a Honda Civic to this day, right? Like, you'd have to be really stupid to think that that's what J. Cole was trying to convey. If you want to say it's performative the same way, like, Johnny Depp performed as Willy Wonka in the Willy Wonka movie, like, sure, yes, J. Cole was reenacting being a hungry up-and-coming rapper driving, the Honda Civic that he used to drive as a kid.
This man, J. Cole, really driving across the entire country in a beat-up Honda Civic, selling his album out the trunk like a dude at a gas station. It escalated so hard, it felt like a full-on riot. But Cole has the best fans. Watch this.
Hey. Thank y'all. All y'all that's here, because they coming right now, they wild. I swear to God, I'll walk down the line and give everybody a picture. But
You got cops and stuff that's was the man.
I ain't worried about me. I'm worried about everybody's safety.
I don't know. I found it kind of cool. In the process, he got to connect with tons of different fans and build a world around the Fall Off where you feel like you're reflecting on Cole's whole career with him. But anyways, the tipping point for Akademiks wasn't the whole performative nature of driving around cities in a Honda Civic. It was actually because J. Cole on this little tour had ended up in the studio with Punch from TDE and Daylight, who is signed to Punch and, of course, affiliated with Kendrick Lamar. J. Cole being in the studio with these two sent Akademiks into absolute tears, and it kind of exposed how he truly feels about Cole in relation to Drake. He said that he would pay money to make sure J. Cole is not on Drake's Iceman album, and basically making every excuse in the book for why Drake is leagues above J. Cole and should no longer associate with him.
TD Punch and Daylight. That means J. Cole won't be on Drake Iceman. Yo, bruv, I don't know what's going to be on Iceman, but let me tell you this, man. Drake not consulting, or Drake don't require no niggas who been ducking fades, ducking battles, pop shit and apologize. We don't want them type of energy around. Straight up. Fake friends, none of that. None of that. Yeah, yo, J. Cole, grab your tricycle, nigga, and we'll get you with a new Honda and keep driving that away, nigga. That away. Fuck you talking about? Who the fuck wants J. Cole on Iceman? Stop
pay that nigga not to be on Iceman. Yo, take my money. Do not go. Yo, if you come around here with this loser energy that fucks up my GOAT, it's going to have me pissed off. Keep this bullshit over there. Go drive around Compton, nigga, in a fucking Civic. I'd pay this nigga not to. I don't want this nigga nowhere. Like, this. I'm happy for his fans, but y'all niggas jacked a loser. I'm not with that. I want to rock with the winners. I want to rock with El Champagne, the king of this shit. I don't want to rock with, like, the third wheel. Yo, this nigga in the studio, like, yo, this nigga's like Reason. Like, what the fuck? Like, yo, how I hear in the studio? Yo, bro, this how you know they don't even respect the nigga. SZA not in the picture. Yo, Daylight's in the picture, my nigga. Yo, bruv, how you first to the studio? Where's Kendrick at? Kendrick not even here, bruv. Nigga, SZA's manager. This is SZA's manager. SZA's not even here, bro. Nigga, you're in the studio with Daylight. Nigga, you might as well just, at this point, you're doing a Vlad TV interview, nigga. I don't know what you're doing, bro. I see why this nigga was waiting 8 hours in the studio for YoungBoy. They should have just brought Ben 10 out. Yo, you ain't recording with YoungBoy today, nigga. You're recording with OG3, nigga. Fuck out of here, nigga. Yo, who's in this picture with this nigga? Like, yo, J. Cole is like an average Joe, bro. Like, he's just a regular nigga, dog. Like, this is when he showed up to the studio to cut a verse for Hit a J3. Like, what? Then you got Daylight in the picture. This nigga looking shicey. Look like he down to steal. Like he down to steal one of the fruits or something. Like, Daylight the type of nigga you in the room with, you got to check your pockets going into the room and coming out. That nigga look like he up to no good, bro. Like, yo, what we doing in here? This shit bad work, man. Yo, you ever seen a picture and be like, man, I would like to be a fly on the wall for this? Fuck no. Whatever they're talking about here, I'd be the nigga sleeping on the couch. Man, y'all niggas is boring as watching paint dry, bro. I'm good. Yeah, J. Cole, congrats to you, nigga, but, bro, don't ever blame the Honda Civic, nigga. Get back to riding bicycles, nigga. Somebody grab that nigga a Peloton bike, nigga, and let that nigga ride to L.A. You feel me? Let's get that out of here, man.
So with all that, you guys be the judge in terms of the whole J. Cole situation. If you think Akademiks had some sort of ulterior motive with the commentary that he brought forth on J. Cole ever since this battle ended, we got to move on to several other artists. And it stretches beyond just the beat. And I think that's where the biggest issue lies, is that, you know, possibly the biggest voice in hip-hop media right now from just a numbers perspective may have skewed opinions based off the people lining his pockets. That could be a problem.
Those 3 Big Macs are for me.
When Baby Keem dropped his album a couple weeks after J. Cole, of course you have Akademiks doing whatever he could to try and poke holes in the momentum and the praise that Keem was seeing. A lot of Drake fans were trying to criticize the Kendrick Lamar feature on Good Flirts, saying it was a whack verse, saying that, you know, the last thing we need is Kendrick Lamar on an R&B song. And I'll give you this, I definitely like their collab on House Money a lot better, and I think that they fit that energetic pocket together a lot better on songs like Family Ties, or even something like Savior, where they get in a little bit more of a reflective bag. So if you're a fan of Kendrick Lamar's music, or Baby Keem's music, I would understand, you know, you having to wait 3-4 years for a new Keem and Kendrick collab, and if you only got this, you know, slower R&B type of love song, maybe you'd be a bit disappointed just because you were expecting something that sounded different. Or maybe, you know, the whole like touching on your booty reprise that Kendrick does at the end of his verse, maybe that's, you know, too corny for you to even enjoy this song. It is what it is.
Baby Keem time.
Crushing on your body.
Hold on. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna spin this one back.
Loving on your body.
That Kendrick feature, I'm gonna say it was booty.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but if you listen to the way Akademiks tries to kind of frame this entire thing, it gets ridiculous to the point of it doesn't even seem like you're trying to bring fair criticism to a verse that maybe you just didn't like. Instead, it's more so, how can I use this one verse to poke holes in this entire rapper's career and concoct a narrative to try and downcredit his position in the game? Because in reality, this is all to just try and, you know, make the public believe that Drake is still on top and that Kendrick can't accomplish what Drake can. So pay attention to the type of cope or the type of critiques Akademiks brings forth when he's dissecting this verse. Number one, he mentions the Young Thug bar that Kendrick had on that verse, saying that, you know, Kendrick needs to name drop or needs to diss to actually gain momentum for himself. And number 2, he says that Drake would have smoked a song like this Baby Keem Good Flirt song, and that Kendrick does not fit on R&B style records. Huh? He tries to say that Drake and Jay-Z, those guys, they're the GOATs because they're able to kind of weave their way through different genres, still make accessible music. No matter what the sound is, what the style is, they can fit it, but still keep it authentic to themselves and elevate the song and make it a hit, right? Of course, you have Drake on songs like Work with Rihanna, Jay-Z with his Beyonce collaborations. He tries to say that Drake would have smoked this song and that we all would have been making a lot of babies if it was a Drake verse on this record. Spicy. Which in and of itself is an insane thing to say, but it's just such a dumb point, right? It's trying to say, like, we're not in the dot era because Kendrick will hop on a song like this, but he wouldn't make it the hit that Drake would make it, right? Like, if Drake was still around giving features left and right and you had the Drake stimulus package, like, this song would have been huge. But Kendrick can't accomplish what Drake can accomplish, and he can only get people talking because he dissed Young Thug on the record. He only, has popularity when he's dissing a rapper. I mean, guys, did we forget about Luther? An R&B record where they took a legendary sample to the point where they weren't even allowed to cuss on the song. That was the challenge of actually writing this song, and they still made it the hit that it was. What about when they switched up and went pop and made one of the biggest songs of this generation with all the stars for the Black Panther soundtrack? What about another one of the bigger R&B/hip-hop hits of the 2010s with Love on Kendrick Lamar's Damn album, or Loyalty off that same album? What about Count Me Out off Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers? What about Money Trees off Good Kid Mad City? That's like one of the most iconic songs possibly of all time, and you have Kendrick there. Yeah, he's rapping, of course, but he's also singing on that hook, right? There's definitely R&B influences scattered throughout that song. There's so many examples, but it's like to try and move the goalposts, it just reeks of desperation, you guys.
Kendrick's weakness is that he could never have a stimulus package, because unless it's about calling out names or being super lyrical, he can't make a moment. The problem...
He's very clearly just talking about sensuality. Whether or not the track can be smooth and still pop. Like, still have one of those, like, popping, gigantic Ja Rule-esque moments. You get what I'm saying? I mean, the track record and the metric that you use to judge success most commonly, whether or not somebody's able to hit the Billboard, literally disproves that. I'm trying to give an olive branch here. I'm trying to give an angle where it's like, where this don't just sound like Drake throat. You think this is Kendrick Lamar's best sensual song feature?
I promise if Drake was on this shit, I promise you fucking 30 bitches this summer to this song.
Why would Drake be on a song like this? When has Drake ever rapped on a song like this?
This nigga knows how to get in it. Pause.
He is grabbing music from completely different generations to build his foundation of his point.
Alright, let's go.
Drake don't even have a song like this. What? No, Drake got songs that are close. It's just when you're trying to build on a point, like the point gotta like link, you know? Like when you got a foundation or you're trying to build like an idea, like it gotta like smoothly, like it gotta align. There gotta be like some parallels. I get you think Jay-Z got good features with R&B singers. Same thing with Drake. You think he fits better on sensual songs more often. And the point you're trying to make is that Kendrick Lamar doesn't sound good in a sensual setting. The unfortunate part about this point you're trying to build is that he literally just had a #1 song that I believe is still charting, that only didn't chart due to a change from Billboard because it was actually charting for too long. So I believe. With SZA, Luther is one of the craziest songs I've heard in the last 5 years. It's unfortunate that the point that you're trying to make is crumbling underneath the weight of how big that fucking song was that came out last year or the year before it. But you gotta acknowledge that. Sometimes there don't have to be a bigger point. And there's just a bad feature. Sometimes it's no deeper than I just don't like him on this song. And it don't have to be no deeper than I gotta pretend like he's never sounded good in a sensual setting. We don't have to try to make that point because it's not true. It's just not true. It's unfortunate. You wasted your time for 10 minutes trying to illustrate this point. It's just bad. It's just bad. It's bad debates. It's bad debates, bad logics is all I'm saying.
So, yeah, shout out to Chauncey for cooking Akademiks there. Now, the thing about Akademiks is that we understand Drake is his favorite artist, but it's not like him and Drake have any personal relationship where, I mean, if you have like a best friend or you have like a brother, like no matter what they do, you're still going to try and find a way to defend them, right? What makes the extent that Akademiks will go to glaze and dick ride and defend Drake is the fact that Drake, we've seen publicly, lies to Akademiks, ignores Akademiks, disrespects Akademiks, didn't acknowledge Akademiks for like damn near a decade. So you have to ask yourself, aside from there being some sort of financial incentive, what reason would Akademiks have to ride so hard for Drake? We're going to try to come to some sort of conclusion on that question later in this video, but take Maul, for example, right? Meat Muncher Maul, right? That guy, at least, he has a real friendship with Drake. So his reason for riding for Drake this hard is because of the fact that they actually know each other behind the scenes. Now, it doesn't make the level of glazing that he does acceptable, I guess you could say, if you want to treat him as a real credible voice within music.
I'm some OVO, dick riding, Drake caping.
Obviously, he's incredibly biased, but at least you know where his bias lies. It's the fact that he has a relationship behind the scenes with Drake. Akademiks doesn't have that. So what reason does he have to defend Drake to the extent that he does, unless there's some sort of financial incentive involved? Now, on a side note though, Maul is most definitely a lot more biased than Akademiks. Like, speaking of Baby Keem's new album, look how Maul reviews the project. If we want to talk about like nitpicking to find like any little criticism, all of a sudden Maul becomes an expert music critic with a refined taste for high-level bars when it comes to judging a Kendrick Lamar related project. But when it's a Drake album and they're talking about, you know, hands on your knees, shake that butt for Drake, or you're a lesbian girl, me too, yeah, then lyrics don't matter. Only when Baby Keem drops an album that he literally has a song called I'm Not a Lyricist on it, do lyrics actually matter. This stuff is fried, you guys.
The replay value on that is very low.
So I'm going to ask you why. I'm going to ask you why, because they're going to say that you're being biased because of whatever. So I'm going to ask
being biased because of what? I can't just not like an album.
I believe that you dislike this album because you dislike it, not because of who he's signed to, affiliated with, and at family reunions. Yeah. I know you don't dislike it because of that, but the world is going to assume that.
Cap. The production is good. The bars don't hold up well to the production.
See, that's where I disagree. I think Keem coming off.
You giving your review or am I giving mine?
Oh, I thought we were having a discussion. My bad.
No, we're not. Shut up. The production is good.
Mm-hmm.
The bars it's too elementary for me. Huh? I don't like his tonality. I don't like the way he say shit. I can't hear. I'm a caveman. Boo boo. What is that? I can't replay that.
You so New York.
I'm just saying I don't want to keep listening to that. Is all I'm saying. That's just not for me. The production on some of the records is hard, but then he come in and rapping and it's like, I just don't like the way he says things. Like, and I don't like, he said, I'm a rich that got a broken phone. I just don't like the way he says shit. To me, this album ain't better than, I don't think this is better than JID's album. I don't think it's better than Wale's album. I don't think it's better than Cole's album. I don't think it's better than Conway's album. I don't think it's better than Chance the Rapper's album.
I don't think it's fair to compare him to any of those people.
Yes, I do. They're rappers.
Those are his
peers. They're rappers.
No. JID is his peer. The rest of the people are not his peers. Wale, J. Cole are not his peers.
They're definitely not his peers.
They're not his peers.
Because they're older than him?
is definitely his peers, though.
All right, I'm just talking about music. Just the type of music, the quality of music, the replay value in the music. I don't care about how old the nigga is, where he was born, when he was born. I don't care about that. The music, the listening experience. To me, this music does not stand next to any of the other music I just named. It just doesn't. I don't like the raps. Like I said, the production is strong on some of on the records. The production outperformed him 80% of the album.
Okay, I know you're nitpicking on certain bars, which I know you're just using as an example to say overall his flow and how he says stuff. But like, you can't listen to I'm Not a Lyricist or Highway 95 Part 2 and like not see the lyrical ability and the content and substance that is in all of that. I'm not saying, I thought he was rapping on this shit.
Well, okay, that's true. We can listen. We can watch the same movie.
But those two specific records that were a bit deeper to his story.
That was cool. It can do Jay could do that way better.
And guys, back to my point earlier. I know we left the whole J. Cole thing, but you know how I was saying, like, really, in reality, it's guys like this who have a huge voice in, discourse that really end up driving that very same division that they keep complaining about. I think this person on Twitter summarized it perfectly. I'm waiting for you guys to realize Akademiks and the Owls are the real reason hip-hop is divided. Drake crying about a battle he lost, provoked and instigated to the point that it got nasty. Again, you cannot call a man's wife an HOE, accuse her of the most effed up stuff, claim Kendrick is a domestic abuser and his business partner is a snake. Then when the heat is back on you, you're suddenly the victim and everyone who enjoyed the music in the battle has to feel sorry for you if you're not their friend anymore. Cole can work with whoever he wants to work with. It's been 2 years. Get over it. No accountability. Let's just blame everyone else. Talking about winners and losers, Cole didn't lose. He left Drake to deal with a beef he's been provoking since 2012. Get the F out of here. And of course, we see Akademiks try and manipulate the public to think that not only is Drake the superior artist, but Kendrick basically needs Drake for clout and took it way too far with the whole Not Like Us PDF thing, right? Even though Drake instigated the entire battle. But whatever, forget the battle. This is more about Akademiks being completely compromised. If you look how he speaks on Jay-Z and how media figures interact with Jay-Z, it's very interesting because he basically describes exactly what he does with Drake or any artist that Akademiks likes. See, he says that, the Epstein stuff came out with Jay-Z, this and that. No media personality wants to speak on it, but Jay-Z is going to start, rolling out new music, and all of a sudden you're going to see a bunch of paid media sites basically glazing every single thing that Jay-Z does without mentioning all of the controversies that he's been a part of. Now, on a side note, if any of you guys care, I have a big Jay-Z video I've been working on that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But it's just interesting that Akademiks says this when we see how he operates with Drake, right? We see Drake make crappy moves. We don't see Akademiks talk about it. We see Drake be involved in shady things. We don't see Akademiks talk about it. I'll show you guys later what I mean in this video, but it's just kind of interesting how he basically describes exactly what he does with Drake, but blames other creators for doing the same with Jay-Z.
Watch this PR run. Everybody, especially some of these media niggas who did not want to speak about or even, just have casual conversations about some of the things people are talking about when it comes to these people. They're going to be enamored with, oh my God, look at this guy. He's so powerful. Look, he used AI to recreate Reasonable Doubt. Look, there's a movie. There's this. Watch.
And if you want to talk about paid media sites, you got to look no further than the Twitter account, the Akademiks TV, which is owned by Akademiks, but it's actually run by someone who I believe just started as a fan of Akademiks, but started making his own meme pages. He goes by Grand Wizard Chat Guy. And we'll get into him more in a moment, pause. But look at the type of captions that he writes. Because if you wanted an idea of who is a bigger glazer of Drake than Akademiks, who's willing to go and push the line further of how disgusting the narratives could be against Drake's fragile ops, it's this guy that takes the cake for that. Kendrick only sounds smart to dumb guys. He knows his fan base got a room temperature IQ. All he has to do is rap with words with more than one syllable, and they get out their little pom-poms. This is a video post from 5 days ago, February 26th. So if you want to talk about who's fueling the division within, the aftermath of this battle, this is one of the biggest Twitter pages in hip-hop, maybe even in music news in general. And this is the type of stuff they're posting. And then you have videos of Akademiks crapping on Kendrick's artistry when we know who was his #1 most listened to artist in 2024.
Off-white sun secret, the marina. A phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever. Wine cooler, spit on my white tee, the sightseer. But my visa, I show up in Ibiza. Blue college dwellers in Brooklyn just to book me some pizza. Who could reach us? Only God could teleport this type of freedom. God, my confession is nigga, shut the fuck up, nigga. Hey, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Set it up and pop, I'ma get him drunk. Won't pass the ox. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5.
It's no point of you being lyrical if you're rapping like you're rapping out of a fucking dictionary. If you're that good and your lyrical dexterity is so dope, how about you be mad lyrical and make it understandable, you f***ing? You jumping planets? What the f*** planets are you jumping?
And guys, I thought this was very interesting as well. Remember how earlier in this video, I showed you how J. Cole's manager had said that, people were out here spreading these hate campaigns against J. Cole during the Fall Off album rollout. Well, Ebro had replied to Ebe's tweet. Yeah, they almost have the same name. But yeah, Ebro had replied to Ebe and made a good point here. He said, Akademiks is claiming he might have turned down those Playboi Carti and ASAP Rocky hate campaign bags, but I would assume that the only time people come to you with these hate campaigns is when you have successfully executed other hate campaigns in the past. Spicy. It's very true, right? Like, if someone knows you're successful at implementing something, whether it be, a rollout or on the opposite end, a hate campaign, then that's when you're going to get approached to spread these type of campaigns against the biggest artists in music. Now, guys, with this whole kind of the beginning of this video here, we're kind of just going through like the recent events within hip hop and how Akademiks has reacted to those. But like I keep saying, the rabbit hole is definitely going to get deeper and further and weirder. And then you'll be able to come to your own conclusions. But just keep taking a look at every little recent piece of news, how Akademiks finds a way to tie it back to Kendrick Lamar and how much better Drake is than Kendrick, even though it really has nothing to do with either of these guys. And it's just obvious that this is a ploy to try and make Drake look good, but you're further, increasing the amount of division that's seen online by the type of things you're saying here. So even as things as random as Spotify trying to promote a new class of rappers, right, which I think they did a stupid job at, or like it was kind of a stupid campaign in general. Like, you have all these amazing real up-and-comers, right? The Marco Pluses, the Chris Patricks, Samara Sin, like that whole on the radar cipher. Like, you have a whole class of 20, 30 like really dope rappers that you can choose from. Especially your Spotify, you have the resources to go out and find these up and comers. Like, no, they decided to run all these billboards in Times Square saying that hip hop needs new leaders, which they're not wrong at, but their idea of new leaders is Sexy Red, and like I don't even remember who else. I don't even think it's worth the time reviewing. But two of the names on there were Doechii and Baby Keem. They're not really newcomers in any regard, right? Like I understand these people, these artists could be, the future superstars in the genre, but there's nothing new about them. They've been out for a very long time. So Akademiks, he sees this list and he starts going on a massive rant about how basically, we were promised that this was the dot era and that the party was dying after the beef, right? And there would be this new coming of age within hip hop where the focus would be back on lyricism and strong subject matter, good morals, not the twerking and the drugs and the killing and the drilling and all that crap that was most prevalent when Drake was at the top of the game, right, commercially. Well, Akademiks spins it to say that the dot era has been so bad, Kendrick has done so little to uplift the culture and music as we know it, to the point where Spotify is now begging for there to be new leaders within the genre, and the ones who were supposed to lead the dot era, Baby Keem and Doechii, they're doing a horrible job compared to Drake and Kendrick and J. Cole when they were up-and-comers back in the early 2010s.
Huh? Those 3 Big Macs are for me!
Now, to make that comparison is dumb, and then to try and blame Kendrick for that somehow is even dumber. I mean, if you want to talk about the artists on that new Spotify list of the up-and-comers or the new leaders that are putting out the best projects, that are actually talking about, real things on their albums, real vulnerabilities opening up about real issues within society or within their lives, of that entire list, it's still going to be Baby Keem and Doechii, even though they're not hitting the heights of a J. Cole or Kendrick or Drake in their primes in the early 2010s. They're carrying that list that Spotify made from a quality perspective. So Akademiks' whole point here just kind of blows up in his face. And again, it's all just to blame Kendrick Lamar somehow for damaging the genre after he beat Drake in a rap battle and became the, biggest artist in the game, basically.
And the internet told me, fuck it, watch the party die. So I'm ready. I was waiting. Okay, it's a new phenomenon. Y'all told me it's a new king. I bet. Well, Drake done ran this shit for a long time. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm watching. I'm looking. Who's going to do what? It says the dot era. I'm looking. What the fuck's the dot era? This shit about to be different. He told us that niggas is promoting poison. I'm like, all right, he must be talking to the thugs. Okay, he's getting to it. He says some niggas, when they're relating to females or making songs with females, they want to be bad bitches just like Sexy Red. I said, you know what? Maybe this nigga got the solutions. They told me that music was still pure. It's going to be saved. Real artistry was coming back. I said, whoa, really? They told me, they said, you know how? Look at the Grammy nominations. I looked. They said, Doechii. That's what's gonna do it. Doichi, a strong black melanated woman who is all about pure artistic freedom. I said, okay, no more this, no more that. We got the answer, Doichi. Okay. They told me, they say, hold up. All that other shit bragging about, how many Birkins you gonna buy, little baby? Like, what the fuck? Right, we got it. Yo, Dirk, how many niggas you gonna pay to get killed? Well, no, my bad. Hey, they told me it was a different type of music. It's the Tyler, the Creators. Then they told me, yo, bruh, you gotta check in on Baby Keem. I said, got it. I'm on it. Baby Keem. Doichi. That's the new wave. Dot Just One is his era. Let's see how his era. Let's get Sexy Red and them out of there. Let's get the Thug in it. Well, Ratland already going crazy. Let's focus on Baby Keem, Doichi. This era is abysmal. They're now saying hip-hop need new leaders. Wait, what about Doichi? Not Doichi's a leader. What happened? I thought Baby Keem and Doichi took the job. How we still auditioning? I agree that hip-hop needs new leaders, but we have to agree that the people who were supposed to be the leaders after that current generation dropped the ball. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Doichis. I'm talking about Baby Keem and them. Some of these artists, we act like this is their first rodeo. These niggas been in the game, man. Like, yo, listen, by year 5, Drake was kicking ass. By year 4 or 5, J. Cole was putting belt to ass, at least industry-wise. Some of these, they just not like that, bro. Let's keep it 100.
So let's rewind the clocks a little bit, all right? Back to when Kendrick had announced he'd be performing at the Super Bowl and when he dropped the song Watch the Party Die. Now, back then, it wasn't all right in Akademiks' eyes for Kendrick to make any subliminal references to the beef because the beef was over. But, going forward with Drake dropping tons of subliminals, not just to Kendrick, but anyone even associated with the beef, from Joe Budden to LeBron James, no, that's all fine in Akademiks' eyes. But I mean, listen, you guys could just listen to this rant, all right? And you tell me, am I tripping, or is he nitpicking any little lyric or action that comes from Kendrick Lamar to try and twist it to make it seem like Drake is just the superior, not just artist, but also person as well?
How do you, Mr. Self-Righteous, I call you hip-hop Jesus because that's how people look at you. A few years ago, you were the same who were basically saying, I stand with Colin Kaepernick. That was you. You stood with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick stood for black people against the NFL. So it's so ironic that when the people who you're now partnering with, who you were standing pretty much against because you were with Colin Kaepernick only about 7 years ago, now that they've given you the Super Bowl performance, you've now done a classic Jay-Z move. It's what magicians do. Look here while I could hide it back here. You don't drop music for 3 months. And ironically, after the NFL starts to come under fire by the same culture that you said, I'm what the culture feeling. You ironically come back with another song, but you're not addressing the culture and you're not addressing the NFL. It seems like you're addressing the fact that you were in a rap battle that everybody has said is over. You said it yourself, ain't no round 2, so what are we doing? It's very convenient. Okay, no, I'm still dissing Drake. The Drake thing is over, Remember who you are. You didn't build you might be getting your peak, the highest peak off dissing Drake. But remember who you are. You're the guy who showed up on award shows in chains. You're the guy who, even on the 3rd verse of Not Like Us, you talked about slavery. You're the guy who's talked about oppression, and you've talked about a lot of things that, again, you're what the culture feels. What we need you to address, sir, is how do you go from being a staunch advocate of Colin Kaepernick, standing with him, agreeing with his plight, saying that his stance and that you supported his protest, which was against the very same league who gave you this, I guess, award, because you're headlining their halftime show. How do you go from being with Colin to now conveniently ignoring that the measures they took to pacify black people? Should I tell you what those measures were? We brought Jay-Z in. Jay-Z later brought you in. That's what we want to hear.
I mean, the nitpicking every little Kendrick action just to try and make it seem like Drake is the better person is absolutely insane. But it wasn't always like this, right? Back in the day, Akademiks actually used to admit that, unlike Drake, Kendrick has several classic albums, and that Drake is actually scared of Kendrick Lamar. And to be the best in hip-hop, you can't have ghostwriters. These were all opinions that Akademiks had just like 6, 7, 8 years ago.
I don't think he'll be considered classic. I'm not considering that Drake has any unilateral classics that would be seen by the culture. No. And I'm not counting. I think all these are classic. Like the niggas just puts. It's just his shit is amazing. Yeah. Like
wait, what's the 3 you count?
To Pimp a Butterfly. Even though
as a classic album.
Yeah, I thought like by far. Actually, I think the rapping on To Pimp a Butterfly is better than Good Kid, Mad City. The songs on Good Kid, Mad City. and some of the concepts that he kind of get into, and also it's a first look on a big scale, so like we see it differently.
Is Drake scared of Kendrick? Let me get my direct questions out the way.
Yes. We all agree what he's saying. I mean, if you are the greatest, you shouldn't have a ghostwriter, someone paying your bars.
So you might be asking, like, you know, he was a huge Drake fan back then too, but he wasn't as entrenched in these biases, right? So what changed? Surely it couldn't have been that Drake is paying him, right, to spread these narratives? But then what could have changed? Did he just realize, you know, he'll make more money glazing Drake? Did he realize more people are tuning in to hear him, you know, speak highly of Drake rather than him actually tearing Drake down? Because according to the OV hoes, you know, I make my living, all these quote-unquote Kendrick stans make their living off crapping off Drake, right? So if crapping on Drake is such an easy way to make a living, don't you think that the biggest voice in hip-hop media, if he really was just chasing the bag, wouldn't he just crap on Drake? Like, I'm trying to ask you guys, what could possibly be the reason that Akademiks has had such a drastic switch up to the point where he can't say anything negative in regards to Drake? I mean, after those comments he made on Everyday Struggle, he actually spoke on his opinions after the beef, and yeah, he does a complete 180 here, trying to find every excuse in the book. And this stuff has really been most prevalent after the beef, right? Like, immediately after the beef. Look at this, you guys. I don't even know if Drake had dropped the Heart Part 6 by this point in time, and you already had Akademiks TV's Twitter account tweeting blatant misinformation like Whitney Alfred, Kendrick's fiance, unfollows Kendrick and continues to follow the alleged biological father of her child, Dave Free. So yeah, I've spent several videos, you guys, I'm sure you've seen them, where I cover how disgusting, how corrupt, how damn near racist this Akademiks TV Twitter account is, but it goes beyond just being a gross Twitter account, right? They are really roped into a very real lawsuit with Drake and Adin Ross. Yes, this guy who allegedly works for Akademiks is tied into a lawsuit with Drake and Adin Ross, where he's accused of basically using Stake, the gambling platform, to funnel crypto in order to fund bots. Now, Drake is tied into another instance of potentially trying to cheat and scam the system. Now, I said this right when the album came out, alright? Streaming activity on week 1 alone was very suspicious, and I just find it ironic because the whole premise of Drake's lawsuit against UMG was that they helped Kendrick Lamar cheat the system by botting Not Like Us, and that it wasn't an organic hit without the fake streams that UMG or that Kendrick's team had put on the song. And ever since then, you know, you see everyone in TDE's camp is accused of being an industry plant. Kendrick Lamar is known as the K-bot, when in reality, it's not Kendrick Lamar that's roped into lawsuits about using bots out in Turkey for their Spotify streams.
I study
using bots out in Turkey
for a living.
It's not Kendrick Lamar roped into lawsuits about using Stake, the gambling company, to allegedly funnel crypto through the platform to fund botting activity on social media and on streaming platforms.
I study
using Stake to funnel crypto to fund botting activity
for a living.
It's Drake who's accused of this stuff. And these accusations started rolling in only after he accused Kendrick and UMG of using bots themselves. Now, this time we got some real botting news. Not fake, not allegations, not a lawsuit, just straight facts from Spotify, alright? Because 21 Savage's new album, What Happened to the Streets, with the biggest song on that project being Mr. Recoup featuring Drake, it lost 25 million fake streams on the Spotify platform. Now, what does this mean? This means that Spotify, since last February, has been doing manual checks where they go through all the songs on their platform, and any track that has streams that came from bots, Spotify removes them. So that's what just happened to Mr. 21 Savage. Now, why this is hilarious is, again, the biggest song on that project is one featuring Drake, and it had around 2.2 million streams removed from it, which means that Drake and 21 were using bots. Spicy. Again, you could go back to my videos like a month ago or my tweets from a month ago. I was reporting on how the streaming activity on the first week of that album's release started to look suspicious, so it really didn't surprise me that this project had a ton of bots on it. Not even Drake could save the album. People were not really showing that much interest in new 21 Savage music, and the numbers sadly reflected it, so they needed to allegedly prop it up with some fake streams. Now, why this is hilarious and just kind of points to the overall bigger crumbling picture that is going on, the side of Drake and Akademiks and Adin Ross and whatever.
Those 3 Big Macs are for me.
Is that, they're so quick to push propaganda, spread nasty narratives, fake narratives at that. But when it comes to, them getting caught red-handed, they have nothing to say. So when this body news came out, Akademiks was on live stream and his audience was begging him to cover it, right? Because 21 Savage is his friend, Drake is his friend, but he's the numbers guy, Akademiks, right? He says he studies charts for a living. So it's only right that he has to comment on this. And he made sure to only comment on it at the end of the night at like 4 a.m. when everyone was already hopping off of his live stream. He touched on it for a moment, but it's what he said that was absolutely insane.
I study charts for a living. Chat, I study charts for a living.
I study rap battles for a living.
I mean, aside from all the flip-flopping, now that it's his man's that's, getting caught red-handed for bodying, it's like, he's asking, was it really bodying, or were you guys just cheating, or was this the label, or who was this? He's just kind of talking in circles here to confuse the audience, right? It's a whole lot of coping to just circle around the fact that 21 Savage was factually just caught using fake streams on his music that featured Drake, right? And of course, Akademiks has to bring it back to Kendrick Lamar, right? He made up on his own Twitter account, Akademiks TV, the fake narrative that Kendrick Lamar's song Luther had 250 million fake streams removed from it on Spotify, which never happened. That's not true. We'll touch on that shortly. But he's trying to use that fake narrative that his own team created as an example of other artists in the game actually using bots when 21 Savage is factually confronted with using bots. That's why this is so freaking ridiculous. Take a look, guys. You guys will puke.
I think even some of y'all were trolling me to speak about this because y'all want to politicize this entire thing to be like, oh no, Savage is doing something. Here's my thing. I'm down to call a spade as long as we're calling the spade. So if the gotcha moment is y'all want me to say, oh, Savage is botting, if y'all are saying and acknowledging that Kendrick is botting, and the proof that we have for that is that billions of his streams were deleted or removed, and now we see something removed from Savage, okay, that's cool. Let's go along with all of them botting. I don't care.
Cap.
I'm not that, there's Kendrick fans that try to argue against the notion that Kendrick bots, but they try to blame botting on everybody else. And if anybody in this industry seemingly has the most evidence for fraudulence or botting, it would be Kendrick Lamar.
Cap.
So this 25 million streams that have been deleted, I would like to know more information. I wish Spotify would release some information about why they deleted whatever. And is it a sanction? And I wish if artists were botting, we got to treat it like the steroid era. Artists should receive sanctions, but they should receive it publicly. Now, granted, they won't do it publicly because the record labels of these artists, like, for example, Universal on behalf of Kendrick is going to say no. Well, if you announce that Kendrick bots, his fans might stream less. It's going to hurt the business. So don't announce it.
Cap.
At some point, you have to announce it. You have to announce it to let it be known that there's a shame factor and a punitive aspect of this. That you're not going to just bot, and if you get away with it, it's good. But if you don't get away with it, we just sweep it under the rug. So again, I'm saying I'm not too sure what this means. Okay? Now, granted, I'm also not stupid. If this is like, has this been something that has happened historically often for Savage? Has it only happened for this one particular album? Has it only happened one time ever for him? Is it something that normally happens? On an average of like 15 random artists, but viable artists, do they ever have negative streams. Again, not necessarily protecting, but I think the conversation that needs to be had is an overall conversation, right? Yes, we've seen Kendrick with deleted streams. Now we've seen Savage with deleted streams. I wish Spotify could address it. What does that mean? Does it mean that you guys counted incorrectly? Or these guys are cheating?
So it's just heinous work, right? Heinous journalistic work, heinous bias. And it's like, can we expect anything more from Akademiks? No, but like, it's just sad, guys, right? Like, this is now one of the biggest voices in hip-hop media. I won't say he didn't work his way here, right? Like, definitely you can't take away anything from the man's work ethic. He's on stream every night. He's been doing that for 15, 12 years, whatever the case is. He's also got a big team. He's everywhere. He's used social media, right? He's, funny when he wants to be, also disgusting when he wants to be. But it's just ultimately the sad thing here is that whether you love or hate Akademiks, he's embraced by hip hop at this point, right? The biggest artists, when they're doing their album rollouts, are sitting down with him. We just saw A$AP Rocky do an interview with him, right? Kendrick Lamar on his diss record against Drake was referencing Akademiks. Akademiks is at all the, mumble rapper guys' concerts, right? The Playboi Cartis and Young Boys and Rod Wave and this and that. Funny enough, the artist he glazes the most, Drake, has barely ever had a public interaction with him, but that's a story for another video. But I just say all this to say, he's a huge figure in the media, and it's sad that one of the biggest players in hip-hop media spreads so many fake narratives about the biggest rappers in hip-hop. It's a dangerous game, and funny enough, the media figure Star had actually temporarily replaced Joe Budden on Everyday Struggle like almost 10 years ago, but it was very short. It was for like 2 or 3 episodes, and he had predicted a lot of what we would see Akademiks, or how we would see Akademiks behave in the future, by basically saying that Akademiks is compromised. He's now friends with all these different rappers, and that's going to cloud his judgment when it comes to, giving his opinion, covering the news, feeding narratives to the audience. There's a major bias in place because he's friends with these guys now. They're not just public figures that he covers as a journalist.
So, are you a Drake fan or stan?
I'm a Drake fan, but an objective one, and I
Really?
can see you
I don't
jumping
think
in
you are, but
already.
continue.
But
Come on,
let
come
me
on,
speak,
come on.
okay?
So why do you think he's
Okay.
not objective right off the bat?
Why do you think or why are you questioning?
Well, you're now hanging in the studio with Tekashi, yes? You're hanging with rappers in the studio.
Yeah, I'm recording a tape.
No, you're hanging in the studio with rappers. So clearly your perspectives are clouded. You're being influenced now by a friendship. And he took a shot at you in the studio, yes?
Me being, my come up was solely not around anything industry. Now I'm in this position. I'm with.
I trolled your come up. I salute your come up.
Okay.
I have respect
However,
for you.
So you're telling
but you're
me
now in the studio hanging with rappers, yes?
I'm recording tracks, yes.
You're in the studio hanging with rappers, yes?
Nigga, I've been in the studio. What's wrong?
He's being evasive.
No, wait.
Are we saying that's affecting his judgment already in terms of debating?
Clearly.
On Drake?
Well, let's focus on
Me and
Tekashi
Drake.
for a second. Let's go.
Okay.
So you're in the studio.
Tekashi the topic today?
Tekashi even took a shot at you and called you a little pump dick rider. Did he not?
Spicy. It's trolling. Do you know what trolling is?
I'm the father of trolling. Let's not play
Okay,
games.
that's what I'm saying.
We're talking about you hanging in the f***ing studio.
Nigga, I've been in the studio.
So he's been in the studio. He has a mumble rap tape coming established.
I got a nigga
right?
in denial
And
on
we're
the
gonna
first
get-
goddamn
No,
day.
I'm telling you what it is. So I've been in the studio.
You ain't telling
What does
me
that
shit,
mean?
but
Make
it's
the
okay,
next
come
point. You're stagnating. Make the next point. I've been in the studio. Yes.
It clouds your judgment. I've never in my life hung out in the studio with a rapper. So if we're going to talk about being objective, not allowing yourself to be committed or biased, as I just said, it clouds your judgment. But you're not a rapper anyway, yes?
Hold on. But clouding your judgment would mean, and even bias would mean that I'm clearly only for that particular person. I've probably critiqued, and most of the people who, and this is like the misconception, the people who I like the most, I usually critique the most.
That's a cute way of saying dick riding in the studio.
I think this tweet from Dog Ninja here kind of perfectly summarizes this entire situation, right? This is the problem with having someone like Akademiks and many others at the helm of hip-hop conversations. 21 Savage got caught red-handed botting streams. There's empirical evidence that 25 million streams were deleted from the total stream count of his last project. It would have been ironic if he actually used 21 million bots instead of 25, but I digress. Yet, Akademiks gets on the mic and deflects, claiming Kendrick has had billions of streams deleted, which is a completely false and fabricated lie. Every time you ask these people for proof, they point to a parody account that posted Luther lost 235 million streams, which isn't true. or they reference differences in monthly streams from around the Super Bowl and the months afterwards. Kendrick hasn't lost a single stream in the total stream count for any song in his catalog, so why sit there and lie, pushing a false narrative when the artists you support got caught red-handed?
I study charts for a living.
It's all a big deflection tactic, right? Let's prop this fake narrative up that Kendrick Lamar lost streams, and that's going to help us in two ways. Number one, Drake is obviously suing Kendrick Lamar for bodying music, even though he had no real proof in the lawsuit. That's why it got dismissed. So by propping up these narratives, it makes Drake's lawsuit look less scummy, I guess, to a casual person. But then also at the same time, you have, Kendrick's songs that are dominating the charts at this point, and everyone's screaming out this is the dot era, conveniently right after he wins this battle against Drake. Now, they want the narrative to be that Drake is the most successful artist in hip-hop, right? So what better way to kind of dismiss the success that Kendrick Lamar is having than by saying it's all been fake and fabricated and propped up by the industry? That's why the body narrative against Kendrick has helped. And the third reason is that when they get caught red-handed, 21 Savage, Drake, whatever, the most convenient excuse for them to fall back on is the idea that, Kendrick set this standard in the industry that it's okay to use fake streams and that he's the king of it. So, if you're going to criticize 21 or Drake for using bots, you have to go look at Kendrick Lamar. Now, the irony in all of this is that recently Adin Ross, Drake, and Akademiks' little minion, Grand Wizard Chat Guy, were actually tied up in this lawsuit along with the gambling company Stake, which accuses them of a number of things. Number one, promoting an allegedly illegal gambling platform, because the lawsuit claims that Stake, the online casino, it's marketed as a social casino because gambling is illegal in the US, but it effectively operates like real money gambling, and Drake and Adin Ross allegedly, by promoting it to their audiences, have contributed to consumer harm. Now, the second allegation is that they've used Stake's internal system to transfer money secretly. And this is where things get interesting and ironic with the situation that's happening right now with Drake and 21 Savage getting caught for using bots. See,
I study
bots
for a living.
The plaintiffs in this lawsuit allege that Drake and Adin Ross used Stake's tipping feature to send and receive large sums of money, including public transfers, which is argued in the lawsuit as a way to actually hide payments outside normal financial oversight. Now, why is this significant? Why would they be using this tipping feature on Stake, which is basically like, think about tipping your waiter, like you're sending someone a tip on the gambling platform. You're sending them money as a gift. And Drake and Adin Ross were using that feature to send each other money, allegedly, according to this lawsuit. Why that's interesting is because in the lawsuit, they're also accused of funding artificial streaming campaigns, aka botting. Huh? The lawsuit says the money routed in those Stake tips was allegedly used to pay for automated bots and streaming farms that boosted Drake's music plays on Spotify. This would artificially inflate his stream counts and popularity, according to the lawsuit, and the lawsuit names Australian national George Nguyen, alleged operator of the accounts Grand Wizard Chat Guy and Akademiks TV, allegedly. They name him as someone who allegedly coordinated the botting and the amplification of streams and received money routed from Drake and Adin Ross to facilitate the scheme. Months ago, there was a private investigator outside of Akademiks' little minion, Grand Wizard Chat Guy's house, or his old house in Australia. They ended up getting on the phone with the Grand Wizard, a private investigator, and Akademiks played the whole phone call on his stream, where essentially they were questioning the guy's connection to Akademiks and to Drake, and said that they know for a fact that Drake uses bots.
So Drake bots his music. That's what you're trying to say. Allegedly. I'm 100% sure he does. You're 100% sure.
Yo, Rock Nation, what y'all got going on, man? Rock Nation, Meg the Stallion. How Drake telling y'all other niggas bot? Y'all trying to get at Drake because y'all think he bot? Come on, man.
Then a couple months later, you get this lawsuit where they're basically saying that Drake and Adin Ross were promoting Stake and using Stake to send each other money via crypto, allegedly, and that money would then get sent to George Nguyen, who aka is allegedly Akademiks TV, and he was using that to fund bots on Drake's music and on social media platforms. Now, why I say this is all ironic, why I even brought this up is, in the first place, is because the main player that was pushing the whole, narrative that Kendrick Lamar lost 235 million streams on the song Luther because those streams were bots essentially and Spotify had to remove them. The main one pushing that narrative was the Akademiks TV page. Those 235 million
Big Macs are for me.
The Akademiks TV page is roped into a lawsuit which accuses them of actually receiving money to plant bots on social media and on Drake's music. According to the allegations made in this lawsuit, it would seem logical that the Akademiks TV page is actually paying for fake engagement and bots on their own social media platforms. And the irony in all of that is they're using those social media platforms to push a fake narrative that Kendrick is using bots, while at the same time they're tied in a lawsuit that alleges they're actually paid by Drake to push bots on his music and on Adin Ross's social media platforms, and likely their own as well, allegedly, if these allegations are true. Now, if you guys want further proof, man, I mean, it's clear as freaking day, all right? The day that Akademiks TV had reported that 235 million streams had been missing from Kendrick's Luther, meaning that Spotify removed them because they were fake, you could look at the website itself, right? This is a data tracking official website. It's showing you guys that the numbers only went up on a day-by-day basis. The green line represents the daily streams, so that's why you see it go up and down, because one day it might have 2 million streams that day, one day it might have only 1.5 million streams. But the gray line is showing you how the actual total stream count for the song grows. And as you can see, it's going up in a linear fashion. There's no up and down, side by side, to the right, and cha-cha, tootsie slide. None of that BS, all right? It's only going up because the numbers never went down because there was no bots on that song, unfortunately for the OV hoes, right? Just some BS that needed to be debunked. And it's shameful that a media personality, if you want to call him that, as big, no pun intended, both physically and reputation-wise, as Akademiks, is pushing fake narratives like this. Really sad. But not surprising. And not surprising it gets worse. See, because Akademiks couldn't resort to the fact that Kendrick Lamar was actually the one botting, instead it was his buddy, 21 Savage, he said that, you know what, at this point, everyone bots in the industry. And he said that, you know what, Drake should just start botting as well.
Huh? Like a pair of, like, I think low-key Drake is stupid to not bot. Drake's biggest competitor is Kendrick, and Kendrick is botting at world record. Like, Kendrick might be in the Guinness Book of World Records of botting. He's botting to keep up with you. If I'm Drake, I would have bought to extend the lead. Fuck it. Like, you know, like, I don't even think it's scummy, and I don't think, like, Drake is, like, the most upstanding, like, person morally. I don't know why Drake thinks he's above botting. I think, listen, this is steroid era. If I'm hitting 50 steroids off the muscle, and that little dweeb over there used to hit 25, he started taking steroids, he's hitting 48. So now we're neck and neck pause. He's cheating, I'm not cheating. Because that's what's happening. Kendrick is botting. Drake ain't botting.
Cap.
Kendrick numbers almost seems equal to Drake. I think Drake should bot. If I'm somebody else, I hear Gunna botting and I'm competing with Gunna, I would bot. It's time. Listen, the industry is not taking this issue seriously. They're not calling them out. They're not issuing punitive things. They should ban people from playlists. Oh, we caught you cheating. We can't playlist your music. You're cheating. Playlisting should be a reward for good music and good practice and good faith.
Oh man, you guys, as I'm recording this video, there's more BS from Akademiks, Snackadiddler, alright? So 21 Savage actually called Akademiks, and I mean, guys, like, the bias is freaking insane, honestly. Like, this is like another level of bias, just because, I mean, firstly, we heard the other week that Akademiks openly admitted that QC, Lil Baby's label, paid him $30,000 to not comment anything negative about Lil Baby's last album, Wham, in the first week of its release. So we know that Akademiks is not just compromised by the artists themselves, but also by the label.
I study charts for a living.
Now, with this thing in particular with 21 Savage, he's friends with Savage, right? So now he's going as far as to say that he doesn't actually believe 21 Savage botted his freaking streams, even though it's there in plain daylight. The numbers are presented on the platform. All you have to do is look. Why would Spotify remove 25 million streams if they weren't actually fake streams, right? It makes no freaking sense at all. And then you have Akademiks taking it a step further to say that 21 Savage called him, and this is why he doesn't actually believe Savage botted, because Savage had told him, hey, why would I bot only 25 million streams if I was really going to use fake streams? Why wouldn't I just put 100 million fake streams on my music? Huh? Do you think we're stupid? Does he think the audience is stupid? What type of excuse is that? It's like, imagine getting caught for cheating on a test in school and you tell the teacher, I wasn't cheating. If I was cheating, I would have copied that person's entire paper. But you're only accusing me of copying one answer. Do you see the logic or the parallel there, right? Like 21 Savage got caught for 25 million fake streams. The label has to do it in a strategic way where it doesn't look suspicious. When you're implementing fake streams, you don't put 100 million fake streams into your songs all at once. You put like 1 million one day and then 1 million the next day and then 500,000 the next day, just so the activity on the charts seems regular. Your goal is to not have the audience or the owners of Spotify recognize that the streaming behavior is irregular, right? Is not normal. Putting 100 million streams all at once onto your music would not look normal.
I study charts for a living.
So 21 Savage, by you saying I couldn't have been botting because I wouldn't have done 25 million streams, I would have done instead like 100 million or 1 billion streams. Like if I was really okay with using fake streams, I would have done billions of streams onto my album so that the numbers were huge. It doesn't work like that. Like the fake streaming numbers need to be put onto the music slowly so that no one can, tell that the streaming activity is not normal. Anyways, so Akademiks just tries to basically defend the fact that 21 did not use bots by using this phone call with him as an excuse, which is the dumbest crap I've ever seen in my life. But if you guys want to hear the biggest ridiculously delusional cope you've ever heard in your life, then check out what Akademiks had to say about this entire situation a day later when he had more time to, think of some lies and not be on the spot when it came to these pressing questions about 21 Savage and Drake using bots.
There was 25 million lifetime streams removed from the album. What does it mean? The K-bots were quick to say, they got your mans. People said, hey, call a spade a spade. You've been saying bot like us, the K-bots, we caught your man botting. Now, as I said, I think everybody should be botting, but I'm not going to defend botting because I do think it's unethical, but if everybody cheating, you got to cheat too. Huh? With that being in mind, is this botting? Is this a correction because of fake and inflated streams? So when this comes up, people run to me to say, is 21 Savage botting? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Here's why I say I don't know. Is it weird? Kind of is weird. But I'm the person that always remember this about me. You tell me the rules and I apply it to everybody. Savage did reach out to me. I didn't get a chance to get on the phone with him today, but he did message me. He was like, and really I think it's in regards to this. He says, the shit is cap. He said, bro, why the f would I bot 25 million? LOL. He says, I would just bot 100 million if I was going to do that shit. Also, here's the thing too. This is why I brought up like regular streaming in terms of like Kaisenad or whatever, not accusing him of doing anything, but like as a streamer, like say me right now, if a viewer you wanted to bot me, you could just go pay for you could pay for 1,000 viewers and it'll jump to my view count. So the question here is, not all the time if someone's botting, at least in regular streaming, does that necessarily come from the artist, even though you would think it would come from maybe their label. Could anybody bot for somebody? If I love Drake, right, and say I got, $300,000 to waste, and I want Drake to beat somebody, could I just bot his music? Or does his label have to do it? How does botting work? Like, we're still kind of like iffy on that. I study charts for a living. How does botting work? Like, we're still kind of like iffy on that.
So you see the flip-flopping, right? And I mean, if you want further proof, all right, that Akademiks has no spine when it comes to standing by the truth and instead is highly incentivized to push narratives, whether it's for his friends who are using bots, whether it's for driving Kendrick Lamar and TDE hate campaigns in order to prop up Drake and make him look better. I mean, you gotta look no further than the proof that we have in the pudding of the fact that when Akademiks got beat up or almost got beat up by Lil Baby's right-hand man, and then that guy ended up revealing it online, Akademiks went on a tirade on social media and put all his cards on the table and finally admitted that for the right price, it's not just that he'll do hate campaigns against you, but he'll also hold off on his criticism against you so that it doesn't look like you're getting an onslaught of hate. Yes, he admitted that QC, the label Lil Baby is signed to, actually paid Akademiks $30,000 so that Akademiks would keep his mouth shut on the week that Lil Baby's recent Wham album released in January of 2025. Why this is significant is, well, I mean, we saw the way he acts when 21 Savage is caught red-handed for using bots, right? Instantly goes to try and blame Kendrick Lamar, even though Kendrick has nothing to do with it, and is looking to dodge and swerve the actual truth of the matter. Then we also see him openly admit that two artists that Drake doesn't get along with, Playboi Carti and A$AP Rocky, Akademiks was offered money to actually spread hate campaigns against them. Then we also see that Akademiks' right-hand guy is tied into a lawsuit with Drake, where the premise is that they were in a corrupt manner pushing social media bots in order to spread narratives, allegedly. When Akademiks went to Kendrick Lamar's GNX concert, he was confronted, matter of fact, by Kendrick's people, his team, and they basically asked him, like, yo, how much is Drake actually paying you to spread these narratives? And Akademiks was insulted. Like, how could they even think that I could be paid for the opinions that I spew? Like, I'm insulted that they would think that Drake is paying me for me, you know, doing all this glazing on him.
Day Free had a moment. He asked me, he said, he said, what are you getting from this? Is he paying you? Lil Baby was one of my favorite artists. He was my top 3 artists. Then they dissed me on his album, and I just had to do it. I went on a whole campaign against him. I didn't want to do that, but that's integrity. That's morals.
But it turns out all this fake outrage for them accusing Akademiks of being paid by Drake would turn out, yes, like I said, to be fake, because he would openly admit that Lil Baby's team had actually paid him to keep his mouth shut, proving to the world that for the right price, Akademiks will either avoid or initiate spreading his disgusting narratives.
Lil Baby's team gave me $30,000 for that last album that dropped, and I had to like really be neutral and be nice, but I don't fuck with no could play with me like that. 30,000 is nothing.
No, guys, I'm tired of this, all right? I'm gonna go get a Big Mac. I think it's no coincidence that between A$AP Rocky, Playboi Carti, and J. Cole all having, you know, some mysterious figure in the background trying to initiate hate campaigns against them, and Akademiks being at the center of it, that Drake is not somehow involved, especially when you see this lawsuit that both Drake and Akademiks' right-hand guy are tied to. But that's just my opinion, right? And everything is alleged here. But the irony in it all is that everything that Kendrick said in that 616 in LA record about Akademiks being compromised, pushing propaganda for a salary, it all seems to be coming true in real time already 2 years later. So was Kendrick Lamar right about DJ Akademiks all along? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I study
Rapaholics
for a living.